Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Oh, we need to clean this. It's very, looks fuzzy. Why is that? I got all that stuff up there and I don't really care. Okay. Are we good on sound and everything? Okay. Okay. All right, YouTube. We're getting Instagram on right now. I really don't like this setup. I'm manifesting a new setup for us, so bear with me. Pulling up my notes, getting us ready. Okay. All right. I think we're good. Yeah. Let's pull our notes. Welcome, welcome, clutter-free family through the Clarity Hotline. I'm live on Instagram and YouTube, so wherever you want to tune in, whatever feels best for you today, join me on that platform. All right, so we've got a juicy question, and it's actually one that feels really timely because I'm actively working on this myself. So having the question come in, I can give you what's working for me, actually working for me to reduce the number of limiting beliefs that I have. And really, in order to reduce them, we need to know about them. We need to know what they actually are. What is the soundtrack that's going on in our heads? That is what we need to focus on. All right, I feel a little bit blurry on YouTube, but we're just going to go with it. We're not going to worry about it. But if you come on live, please say hi. We are going to work about it. I just feel like something's like sticky on there. How's that? Okay. It feels still sticky. I mean, it looks sticky. It looks like a dream. So I gotta figure out what I can use to fix this. Is it my glasses? No, right? I heard that the more yellow these are, the better for the blue light and the blue light cancellation, which is why people are wearing these blue light glasses, is because it just helps. If you're on the computer a lot, it helps to have some reprieve from the blue light because it's a lot. It's a lot for your eyes. It really does affect your sleep. The more blue light you get, and you don't have to believe this if you don't want. Less limiting beliefs for you. There's one right there, like that, you know, something like a blue light could prevent me from falling asleep or be part of my insomnia, right? So there's lots of beliefs that kind of hold us back. And that's something that we can fix. And that's something that we can rid ourselves from. Really, if it's holding you back in any way, it's a limiting belief. Some of the limiting beliefs that I've had in my life is, I think, the biggest one, and one I'm making sure I'm conscious of not to say to my kids, is what's wrong with you. I think the 80s and 90s kids grew up with that. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Because that is, I guess, what our parents' generations were learning. I think it was so you almost got to look back at lineage, right, and see the sign of the times and what was the media saying about the world to these impressionable youth that then became adults carrying that same weight, that same pressure, those same beliefs, those borrowed beliefs from the media, and how has it affected their lives. And I'm very conscious of that. I recognize how I might come across as a mom, and I had a post already get blasted by some hate about how I look like a helicopter parent. And there's no shade to any type of motherhood. If you are coming at motherhood with intention and love and the desire to just nurture these young souls and just remind them that they're loved. Um, yeah. Anyway, that's my personal opinion of the matter, because I think what allows us to get over the limiting beliefs and not make it about us, and instead to see that our parents were kind of in charge of that realm of self-talk, and we now as adults have the ability to change it and not live by it ever again. We have the power to do that in an instant. Change it so that we're not living by those borrowed beliefs ever again. When you recognize that, then you forget. It's not about them. You don't take your parents personal. You recognize where they were coming from, maybe the wounds and the awareness that they had about themselves and the sign of the times, right? That they brought into their lives, and then how they parented you. And then it's easier to recognize that it's not about you when there is love, right? When they were parenting with love and affection and tenderness, kind of like, um, and if you grew up in like a screaming household and maybe a lot of conflict, then it might not feel like love, like when they finally it stopped yelling and loved on you. And so there is an opportunity to just find in your memory all the little points, as many as you can, where you did feel a lot of love from your parents, the little ways that they showed love. You notice those types of people cling on to the good, right? The good that's there. Because if you're going to cling to anything, let it be good. Let it be flow. Let it be love, right? If you're going to cling to any type of clutter, let it be good. So, you see that those people that cling to this idea that, my dad didn't show me a lot of love and affection, but what he did show me was, XYZ, and I felt like that was his way of loving me, right? He would ask me how my day was, you know. Maybe he wouldn't listen, but he asked me. Like he recognized enough. And maybe I thought he wasn't listening, but he was. And maybe he didn't know how to respond, right? And you can kind of be taken away on a new story that feels a lot better, that empowers you more to live a life that you want to live right now, instead of be beholden to one that you didn't set up for yourself. But now you don't have to live under the constraint of that, as long as you tell yourself a different story. Okay, so that's what I want to leave you with, in regards to that. Because as we talk about limiting beliefs, it's going to feel like, oh, it's too much. How am I going to get over this, right? How am I going to encapsulate all the limitation that I am under? Or how am I going to capture into words all the limiting beliefs that I have? It's one by one. But you'll notice that maybe the big work, the most work, is just finding the first one, finding the first limiting belief. For me, that was like, what's wrong with you? And thinking that there's something wrong with me that I have to fix, heal, change, instead of just loving me as I am. And so that soundtrack is something that I'm actively changing. And so now, when I do hear a limiting belief or hear something in myself that feels like an immediate restriction, immediate hesitation, where my soul's calling me to, and then I feel like some sort of doubt or some sort of fear, I know that that's an opportunity. But oh, there's my thinking small again, or there is my fearful thinking, my limiting thinking, my scarcity thinking, and I get to change it. So see how it gets a little bit easier, a little bit faster once you kind of conquer maybe one that you feel is really the strongest, maybe the one that's kind of leading the way right now. It feels front and center, and it feels like what you're thinking most of the time. And you come back to that. I think once you know that, once you get in tune with that phrase, that sentence, that belief, then you're going to be able to start to just knock down all the rest. So that's what I'm noticing for myself. And then as you work on manifestation, right, this idea of like enveloping a new identity for yourself or stepping to the next level, right, this next higher frequency of thought and behavior, you are going to automatically start to be acting from that place and being different. So you're going to feel different, do different because you think different. And so at that place, you're able to look back at the level that maybe you came from and kind of identify some more limiting beliefs from there. But not that they hold you back anymore. You're just identifying them and maybe helping others through their limiting beliefs. And I honestly have such a passion for that. And I have since the start of Declutterist, way back when I started this company, the Declutterist, it was to clear the mind of clutter because limiting beliefs and the stories that we tell ourselves. Ultimately, that is it. That is it. Okay. The law of mentalism says, the Hermetic law of mentalism says that everything comes from the mind. So nothing can exist in your material world that wasn't first conjured up in the mind of someone. Maybe not you. You didn't invent the airplane, right? Or at least in this lifetime. You didn't invent the airplane, but somebody did. So out of the minds of those geniuses, right? Those brilliant inventors, which you are, because you recognize the brilliance of an invention like an airplane. It's enough to be a bona fide creator yourself. You look at the airplane, you're like, okay, I didn't invent that, but somebody's mind did. And not even just the Wright brothers. I'm sure the Wright brothers had lots of people helping along the way, like help shape their desire to learn about space, travel, flotation, right? The mechanics to make something ride on air, looking at birds, right? Seeing nature and having that innate desire that built up in them, and then they connected with other like-minded people who had the same kind of desires and pursuits, and those people worked for them or worked with them, worked alongside them. And I think at some point they just got the download that was the change, because you see a lot of, if you watch old documentaries or just look it up online or ask Chat GPT, what were some of the failed attempts at flight, and you'll see a lot of them. You'll see a lot of them. And they came before and after because it was kind of an invention that the Wright brothers locked in, right? They locked in, they got it. Then the next people were thinking, well, how we can improve it. And we're constantly improving it, right? Making them more streamlined, faster, less prone to accidents or things, problems, right, in the air that really can cause some death and scary stuff. So anyway, they were from there, right? Once you kind of establish that baseline, okay, good, we mastered this. Okay, air travel done, and then we go from there. Then now we're going to Mars. Now well, we went to the moon. So it's like we're figuring it out. We're going farther and farther into space, and making it feasible, making it accessible to the layperson, the person who's not in NASA, making it accessible. And I don't think the people who watched the videos of, like, right there in the 60s of a man walking on the moon would have brought their mind to something like, oh, we're going to reach Pluto one day. I think it was that much of a jump, like a quantum leap in science, just in general, that they were just kind of locked in on the moon. But then you had some scientists kind of later on, as the years pass, start to wonder, okay, well, how much further can we go? And I think too, you hear the people say, like, shoot for the stars, land on the moon, or something like that. Shoot for the stars. I don't know. I can't really remember, because I think people say it a little bit differently depending on who you're talking to. Shoot for the stars, land on the moon, land. I don't know, but still, you've ascended, right? There's like this level of, like, whoa, that was a quantum jump. Even though you didn't get to the stars, you still got somewhere pretty magnificent. I think in order to have reached the moon, they had to have been thinking further, right? and then they made it on the moon. So there was somebody thinking kind of like, well, this is the beginning of going into outer space and going above and beyond, because we had the satellites and all that stuff that was tested out and made to make it safe for humans to go out there and test grav um, gravitylessness, anti-gravity. I don't know what the lingo is in that industry. Gravity, I think it's anti-gravity, sub-zero gravity. So this idea of weightlessness, that's what it is, weightlessness. And to see, okay, how can we build a spaceship that holds these people in outer space and doesn't collapse and capsize on them? And or how do we build an astronaut suit and a helmet that holds enough oxygen for them to get through whatever they need to do around the ship outside in outer space where there is no gravity and who knows where you're going to go? And wow, right into the abyss. Can you imagine? Oh, I love sci-fi for this very reason. I think I'm just like fascinated with outer space and galaxies and stars, planets, whatever, everything out there, the cosmos. Fascinated by it. Anyway, so I love sci-fi. Well, my favorite movies are the ones where they're in outer space, and it's usually like one person, like The Martian or Gravity with Sandra Bullock. Um, where's another one that just came out? Astronaut. I think that was pretty good. That was good. There wasn't a lot of space stuff there though. But the ideas there were interesting, the ideas of that movie. So, and that's like one character. Anna Kendrick's in one. I just watched that one. That was pretty good. They go a lot outside and they're on this ship and they're trying to do something, and that's intense with Anna Kendrick. I don't remember the name of that one. Anyway, and then there's another one with Kristen Stewart where she's going deep water. And that is, I think that it's unfathomable to dedicate your life to something like that. For me, I wouldn't be the one, but I love watching it happen as people discover, deep sea and deep space. It's just like mind boggling. And I love to be boggled. I love my mind to be boggled and just question and be curious and be a student. It's a chance to be a student about something a little bit richer, deeper, like more insane. And anyway, so she goes into deep space and she encounters like these monsters that are probably fish. I mean, it is, I didn't read 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea or whatever the title is. But I think I was supposed to. I think I did the Cliff's Notes or something when I was a kid, but I think I was supposed to. But that's a book that's going to have to be read by me one day. But anyway, who knows what they came up against. These kind of like odysseys of and then challenges you face. You go out, do something amazing and transcendent, like travel space, and you come up against a challenge that the human race hasn't encountered yet, and trying to figure it out, or make sure the person's okay and safe and gets home, like Matt Dillon in The Martian. Not Matt Dillon, is that his name? Why am I blanking on things right now? Names and titles. I guess because it's just not that important. It's like mommy brain. Okay, if anybody's not a mom out there, mommy brain is mommy brain because you really are focused in on the most important things. It's a biological switch hardwired into anybody who has birthed a child and is now caring for said child. This is like a biological hardwired instinct that you can't deny. Anyway, you can try to challenge it, you can try to restrict it, you can try to cut it off, but it's there. Okay. And what am I getting at? I forgot what I was getting at. But anyway, mommy brain. You're so focused on this baby. It's this important, making sure this is part of you. Okay. So in the same intensity, you're caring about it eating, the baby. You're caring about the baby eating. You're caring about it drinking, getting nourished, right? Or whatever. Bonding, eating. Just drinking is really them eating. Okay. Sorry. Stay with me here. Stay with me here. Like I'm trying to tell you why I'm a little scattered on other things outside of stuff I've been studying. That's what mommy brain is. You're studying, you're focused on the baby, making sure the baby's okay. And so you have mommy brain for everything else that isn't those things, isn't baby and me, right? And so, yeah, you're going to feel scattered and all over the place. It doesn't mean it's bad or you're bad or it's wrong. It just is. And you want, in fact, the continuation of human race needs it to be that way. And so that's why biologically it is what it is. Just like you'll see any other mom in nature act and behave in the way that, somewhat supports and, delivers the baby into the world. So you got the mommy brain. Well, same thing goes for when you are in school. You're not going to have a lot of capacity available to other things. If you're studying one thing, stats, and you just really have to focus on it, then you might be a little scattered about, I don't know, global warming. You're not going to know a lot about politics if you're taking everything does kind of permeate across lines, doesn't it? If you are taking a calculus class, you're probably not really in that time that you're focused on calculus, worried about political science. You're not thinking about the impact of so-and-so legislation or proposition going into effect and how that might trickle down and affect you. So if you were brought into a conversation after just coming out of a calculus class, you might need a minute. Okay. And so this is why we take it. We take our minute just to collect our thoughts, right? To collect our wits about us so that we are able to have a conversation outside of calculus, outside of baby and me, outside of, for me, what I'm studying. But I'm tying it back. I'm just kind of, I guess, giving an excuse for why I am not remembering titles and names of people. Matt Damon. Thank you. Matt Damon from Martian. Anyway, lots of good sci-fi movies about going into outer space. If you're interested, just Google it. You'll find them. So good. My loves. And probably that's because I love a starry sky. Like a starry sky is probably one of my favorite places. Yeah. Like being under a starry night sky is the ultimate draw in life for me. And I think second would be like a babbling brook. Like being around that, I could sit for hours, like with my feet in a little brook or something. So that tells me I need to get camping ASAP. Okay, so let's get into our question, because we're talking about limiting beliefs. Why are we talking about limiting beliefs? Because Georgia asked, here's the question. How do I get rid of my limiting beliefs? I went after a big job promotion, and after the interview, I doubted I could do the job. Okay, so what I imagine, Georgia, is that you are going after this promotion that you feel qualified for enough to apply for it, right? Something inside you stirred enough to get you to believe in yourself enough to submit the application. And then you got the interview and you showed up. You dressed for it. You prepared for it, or at least, just got, okay, going into an interview, if that's all you did, you got dressed for it. That was some preparation. You walked in, you did it, you sat down, you finished it, you walked out, had thoughts about it. Now, all that happened, all that belief in yourself happened until you met that limit, that upper limit. If you read Gay Hendricks' book, The Big Leap, just a limit. So a limit in your life, that's where you stop. Like I did all that, like I made it through all that. And now yet another limiting belief, one that is, I don't think I could do the job. Maybe I was told a little bit about it in the interview, and they usually do tell you more about what your role would be. But there's this, you still will rise up to the challenge, right? Just like you have risen up to the challenge before, but you're not remembering that because this is a brand new challenge. So something from that interview, something in yourself made you think, I don't think I could do the job. Okay. And then she continues on, and then I didn't get hired. So she didn't get the job. Did I sabotage myself? So there's two questions here, but they're all, the same. So she's asking, how do I get rid of my limiting beliefs? So she knows this was a limit, because she thinks she sabotaged herself. So did I sabotage myself and not get the job by having these beliefs? And well, she knows the answer, because she wouldn't be asking this question if she thought the answer was no. Yes, right? But sabotage, do I want to get into it? The word sabotage, if it's not helpful for you, don't use it. Sabotage has such a charge because it's just clickbait, and it feels negative. It feels polarizing to think that you've sabotaged yourself, and so therefore further divides you from trusting yourself, loving yourself, because you start resenting yourself for going after things that pull you out of your box, make you bigger and better, and then maybe not getting it, and then you're like, oh, why'd you make me do that? So mad at you. And then you say, oh, I sabotaged myself. It's such a slap in the face, right? And you're the one doing the slapping, and yours is the face. Like, this is limiting beliefs, like at being acted out right before your eyes. This is the behavior that belief begets. So belief before behavior, belief begets behavior. And so anyway, you have this cycle that you're just continuing to live on, the hamster wheel of this particular limiting belief. Because a hamster wheel, the belief is why you're on that hamster wheel. The rat race, all the jargon, it's because of your beliefs. Okay. So we know at some point we've met a limit, and we're just circling this cycle over and over again, like waiting to circle the drain and drop in and sabotage ourselves. And so, of course, there's such thing as self-fulfilling prophecy, or the law of attraction, or the law of, um, I said mentalism, but manifestation. So, of course, right, the self-fulfilling prophecy is you probably went after the job, went in the interview, sat down, believed you could do it up until that point, and then, you know, didn't get the job. I think at some point before that, before you didn't get the job, you doubted yourself. Okay. So even in the interview, I think you probably met an upper limit, and you thought, oh, and maybe somewhat you were hearing yourself talk yourself out of being hired, and therefore talking the interviewers out of hiring you. Okay. So you heard kind of this conversation happen, this inner dialogue. And so that's why my limiting beliefs, what's wrong with you? Money doesn't grow on trees. In particular, don't get too big for your britches. So don't get so arrogant, so cocky, thinking it's all about you, because God was in on this, right? And so another divide is like, okay, I'm separate than God. I don't have divine power in me. God didn't create me in his image and likeness. I mean, right? So which one is it? I don't get it. And so, of course, if I was in that interview and I started hearing that dialogue come up again, it's a trigger to get small and get weak and become powerless, and basically, hope to be rescued by whoever else has the next belief I need to borrow in order to get out of this hole, or at least feel okay about myself not getting the job. Justifying, and when you say, like things like, oh, it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't for you, perhaps, right? But that's not for anybody else to tell you. It is true, possibly, right? It probably isn't for you, but if you did an identity upgrade, or you did ascend a level in consciousness, you would have made it for you. You would have set yourself up to be on the way. And so this is part of you on the way to your vision. If you want that promotion, if you want that job, if you even really want that job, that, like, let's really rewind back. Did you not get the job because you didn't want it? Like, were you trying to just do it because everyone else was telling you to? Were you trying to prove something to yourself that maybe you really don't need to prove anymore? And there's something deeper there, why you went after the job and didn't get it. So when you think about, like, you are making a way for yourself, the next level version of you, whether you meet her or not, is calling to you. And she's saying, do this, do that, do this. And if you didn't get the job, that's fine. It is still kind of along the lines of, oh, it wasn't meant for you right now. The only reason it wasn't meant for you right now is because maybe you believe your nervous system can't handle it, right? That level of promotion, in title and prestige and status and responsibility. What's required of you? Is it going to pull you away from your family, the people that you love? How is it going to sabotage the life you already live now? How is it going to hurt the people that you love the most by you getting this job, right? All questions that, if unanswered and if satisfied in the soul, that you're like, okay, no, see, everything, I'll make a way, right? I believe in myself. And my next level, me, is calling me to it. If I believe that really, truly, honestly, this job is part of my ascension toward where am going, where I know I want to live my life, I'll get the job. If I don't truly believe that, and there's some gray area around how I'm even getting there, or at least what to do right now, if there's gray area, lack of clarity on what do I do right now in order to still follow in the footsteps of her, to still go after my vision and to take aligned action. What is the action right now? You need clarity. The action right now is all that matters. Okay. So it's okay that you took the interview, you had the interview, and you didn't get it, right? Because you learned something about yourself. Okay. So that's great. Yes, absolutely. So yes, you just proved to yourself it was meant to be, because you wanted the learning lesson. You wanted to level up a little bit and challenge yourself and see, can I do it? Can I show up to the interview? Can I even, I'm going to put this application in and see if I get it. See if I get an interview. Okay. I'm going to go to the interview and just see if I get it. I'm just going to be myself, show up and do this. Like, yeah, I don't really know if I can do it, but I'm going to be as confident in what I do know now, right? These are all decisions you're making. You have the option of not believing that and believing yourself not to be ready, not to be capable. But let's say you're choosing, I'm going to be capable. I'm going to go in there. I'm confident in my transferable skills so far into a role like this. And so I sit down for the interview. And from there, I'm like, okay, I can do this. And then all throughout, I'm still very aware of my capabilities right now in this moment. And then I leave the interview. And then the doubts come, because during the interview, I was like, no, I got this. I got this. And then something after the interview, the doubts started to be like, well, can you do it? Who are you? Or you talk to other people about it. Maybe you start to hear your answers and you start to second guess what you said, or you talk to other people who interviewed and you're like, oh, they're way better than me. And so whatever you're telling yourself is kind of being played out before you, like a play, and you're just watching. You're like, oh, I knew this would happen. I knew it would happen. I knew I wouldn't get it. I knew I wouldn't be qualified. I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm not going to get my hopes up. If I get the job, I get the job. Cool. But then what are you actively choosing, though, for yourself? If I get the job, that's cool. What are you actively choosing? Because don't spend time on anything that you wouldn't want to. You wouldn't want to spend time, trust me. But don't spend time on anything that doesn't get you to goal, doesn't get you to vision. And I'm only calling it goal because there are those incremental goals along the way that just kind of like, it's a checkpoint. A goal is literally a goal, like on a soccer field, or a marker in the road when you're running or driving. It tells you the mileage, right? The X numbers on a highway, freeway, like you're tracking, right? So you're going mile by mile. Well, anyway, and this is to illustrate that. Okay, I just lost my train of thought. Hi guys, thanks for coming in. Let's make sure I don't have any comments. Okay, thanks for coming in. Say hi when you come in. Okay, Georgia, we're getting there. Hopefully you're staying with me. But where was I? Something about the mile markers. And getting back to Georgia's question, that was one of the big ones I was trying to get back to. I think when I'm in flow, I really shouldn't look at my notes. And so sometimes I don't, but then I think, see, this is me second guessing. So here's where my doubt is. Let's just use the illustration. And I'll tie it back to that interview, walking out and finding the doubt. This is the moment right here. Okay. So you've had the interview. I'm showing up to the hotline. I'm showing up to the interview. I'm sitting down, having the interview. The whole time, I know I'm speaking my truth. Okay. And then I walk out after the interview and I start second guessing, maybe because of something I'm doing, some interaction, some social environment made me aware of comparison, made me aware of maybe where I feel a little bit of inferiority against something else versus something else, right? In contrast to something else. But that is in the moment where I don't want to cower to that self limitation, that limiting belief. I don't want to cower against maybe an awareness I'm having about myself, because there is the moment to change the awareness. There is my moment to say, okay, I shouldn't look at my notes when I'm in flow on a clarity hotline because it does throw me off. I just would rather be in flow. I'd rather answer the question based on how, God's using me as a vessel to get the information out to you. And when I trip up on my words, I'm usually trying to get back to my notes, my outline. And what I can do right now, that's an awareness I have. What I can do right now is say, well, I just need to get better about not looking at my notes or look at my notes. Or I don't know. I could choose something. What feels empowering right now is for me to choose that looking at my notes and just engaging with you, taking comments instead of making sure I leave time for comments at the end. Having more interaction is more easy to still do while in flow, because I do my best work quietly alone. And the minute you start to engage, then you get entrepreneur brain, mommy brain for the entrepreneur, where it's like, okay, hold on, I have to change tasks because we're wearing a lot of hats. We're wearing a lot of hats as an entrepreneur. In case you haven't known, now you know. You are hopping in and out of a different hat, be it accounting over here, doing your taxes, or, setting sales tax, or figuring out the numbers of the day, your quota, if you do that. And then over here, you've got branding, marketing, the perception you have in the industry, in the marketplace. What is your positioning going to be in order to attract that ideal client? Okay, then there's that. And then you're over here doing the work, right? Doing the deep work, doing the discovery of thought. If you're a thought leader, discovery of your story and how it might help others. If you're a coach or maybe a digital course creator, things like that, right? So all of this kind of lends itself into doing deep work. I want to kind of incubate and just focus, isolate on what I'm going to work on, right? There's deep work, and then there's research. Then there's kind of this outward focus of what's the world doing right now? How can I tap into maybe the wavelength of the times, the media? What's the media putting out? Finger on the pulse, and then that's a different wavelength. That's a different frame of mind, right? That's a different vertical entirely. So therefore, entrepreneur brain does feel scattered if you haven't found your flow through all that. And so that's all we're doing. As we ascend, we find a new flow. We find a new normal. And so therefore, we've got to be deliberate about what that flow is going to feel like. And I want to feel like an ease, not about maybe I don't do notes. I don't mind having notes. I like order structure. I like to make sure things are being conveyed in the time we have together. I want you to walk away with extreme value. And so I think an agenda is nice, but I don't want to be beholden to one, and I don't want to feel guilty about not following one when there's like a channeling happening. And how can I do that? What's my new flow there? And then what's my new flow engaging with people writing in comments? So instead of only answering the pre-submitted question, answering live questions, right? And still maybe tackling all that I'm having to do. Or do I let go of the attachment to getting it all done on one live? Maybe we have to extend the live. Maybe it's a 2-hour thing, or maybe it's I'll continue this next week, next Tuesday, since we go live every Tuesday. We're just going to continue this conversation and then back up some of the questions that are kind of waiting for their answers. I have this kind of like desire to answer as many questions as they come in as possible. And so So you're not waiting for 4 weeks before you hear your answer. Now that's hard. I got to talk myself through this. Uh, I'm trying to keep up. I don't want to, I don't want to say that because I don't want to discourage you from writing in your question. I think things will just start to, um, I used to answer like 3 questions in a call, and then the questions got a little bit deeper, and I wanted to go a little bit deeper, and so the questions, it started to be like 2 questions per call, and now it's kind of 1. It's been the last, maybe, I don't know, 5 weeks where I'm probably only getting to one big question, but or at least answering one question and tying in maybe the answer to another question. I've been doing that too, because I don't want you waiting for your answers when you submit a question to the clarityhotline.com. I want to make sure that you're getting your answers. But then you can also come on and ask me live. So this is where I think is my ultimate new identity shift. I want to flow in and out of comments, engaging questions, things like that. I also would like a better system so that I'm not having to move notes and stuff in order to see comments. And same thing with all the devices. So we've got to figure out, does something stream on all the platforms and put my comments into one place? Wouldn't that be great? So if you're if you're a tech person and you're building an app, what if I could stream to all platforms that are streamable, or just make all platforms streamable, all platforms streamable, and the comments all just go in one place, and then you're just looking at one screen, you're not toggling, and then you can maybe copy paste your notes also in the same platform. Wow, incredible. That would be every speaker's dream, I think, who's online. This kind of virtual environment is, I think, where the complications start to begin, because now we're speaking not on stages, but on Zooms. We're in rooms where we just see faces. We don't see environments. Sometimes you don't even see the person. So you're talking to the abyss. You can't see the expression. You can't really relate or feel necessarily, if you're not looking at the people, the resonance, and you're instead looking at your notes and you're kind of bouncing around. Anyway, I think that's the next level of tech. And that's just to keep up with this new level that we're in of being very virtual careers. These online content creators, which I feel like I'm one. I'm a creator of content because I write blogs, books, speeches, YouTube videos. I'm a writer, and so I identify as a content creator because I like all of that. Also, to have a visual appeal to it too. So to me, it's kind of like brand. It's marketing. It's beautiful. It's colorful, but it's also really deep in profundity. So I think that lends itself to why I've chosen minimalism as a part of my life, a tenet of my life, because I love organization. I love order. I love things to have a home. I like everything to have a place. I like to know where to find things when I'm looking for it. I don't like a lot of things. I just like to love my things. I want to get through them. I think the only thing where you could call me a maximalist are my books. And that's because I'm obsessed with information. I think that um, to me, that's a form of art. Not only art on the walls, beautiful, yes, but I like a white wall, just a nothing. I could do that too. But I do like art, right? There's a place for art on the walls, but like a bookshelf that spans all 4 walls, that's another story. That's the element of bliss for me. So if you're my people, let me know. I would love to know. I tend to attract a lot of book nerds because I am one. And I will be honest, I'm trying to raise a few too. Because I just think it's pretty magical to read. And because when you read, you write better, right? You write with a level of connection to our oneness as a people than ever before, because you recognize it. And not just fiction, even though if all you read was just fiction, there's still kind of a worldliness to that. And because you're learning about new cultures, new places, maybe you know, um, the crime took place on the island Cape Cod, Maine. I'm thinking of Jessica Fletcher in Murder She Wrote. So right there, you could read just fiction, but then if you're also reading nonfiction, there's an element there that's kind of drawing out this cultural, worldly side of you, of your awareness. And if you read both, right, it's just opening up your mind, and I'm a big fan of that. And I believe any author of a book that I purchased, that I was drawn to by, has opened themselves up to the divine in ways that just like I I I'm in awe. And I just love a good book. I love to be able to highlight something that changed my life forever. And I have my books. I have a clutter clearing, my favorite clutter clearing book list on my blog at thedeclutters.com. But I probably should let you in on my favorite life changing books that have led me to where I am today, speaking the way I speak, telling the message that I have and how it came to be. I mean, I say a lot of that in the declutter code. I talk a lot about my philosophy, but I probably don't talk enough about, how I got there. So that could be something else that's interesting, because there is the philosophy, and then there's also like the origin of the philosophy. I think that's interesting. And that's why we like prequels, right, of movies, not just sequels, but we kind of like to know the origin story. That's always fun. That's definitely something, producers can can call a cash grab for sure. But anyway, let's get back to George's question, because I recognize the time and I should probably start to close this out. Let me remind you what the question is. How do I get rid of my limiting beliefs? I went after a big job promotion, and after the interview, I doubted I could do the job, and then I didn't get hired. Did I sabotage myself? Well, another take I want to answer with this question. We kind of went into sabotage and how to just kind of reframe that. And yes, you chose not to get the job. At some point in your life, you chose not to get the job, and that's why you weren't hired. And so it's just about, like, let's retrace kind of the steps, my beliefs on why I didn't want the job, because that's fine to not want the job. And you just maybe confirmed in your spirit, okay, I'm going to go after this thing. I'm going to quit and start my job, or start my career, because this is another flip side of this question, Georgia, that you might want to think about is, what is this freeing you up to do? You didn't get the job. What is this freeing you up to do? Not just have more of the cush job that isn't going anywhere, because hey, at least I get off at 4 p.m. every day, and I don't have to take work home with me, and it's such a mindless job. I pretty much talk to my coworkers all day. I don't really do anything. I leave when I want to, come back when I want to. That kind of a job, right? There's that. And if that's serving you and that feels good, I wouldn't say that that's probably going to be what it frees you up to do more of, right? You're probably going to recognize, if you're feeling like, okay, this was a sign that I didn't get the job because I should be doing something else. And so whatever you're feeling in there is something you've been thinking about for a while, right? It's been percolating as to like, oh, this is my next step. If I don't get the job, then I know I just need to go start my business. If I don't get the job, I know that something else is going to come for me, or a new department's going to open up, and I'm going to get that job. Maybe I'm going to get that promotion, and I'd rather be in that department anyway. So all of this starts to get justified for you, to where, yeah, you're freed up from the guilt or the shame, or the grief about not getting the job, because that's where we don't want to stay. We want to stay in something more empowering. So however you want to talk yourself through why you didn't get the job, in order to feel the better version of yourself, to still be in ascension as a result of this experience, to still be moving toward your vision, taking aligned action there, then you want to make sure you're thinking the most empowered thought. And that will be something around the lines of, oh, this freeing me up to do what I really wanted to do, which was start the business, or what I really wanted to do, go on more dates and find the man of my dreams. I don't know if what you believe, because I personally don't like that idea of, I never did. And probably that's why, I wasn't a big, I was a commitment phobe, I think. Anyway, um, so there's a lot of like things to think about there. That's really telling if you caught that. But no, there's some truth. There's some truth. Um, let's get back. So whatever is the belief, if you retrace your thoughts back to why you didn't want this job, then you can immediately find the more empowering thought. Well, this freed me to go after this other job or apply for this other company and leave this one because this one feels like they're doing things more along my lines and I just want to be in that energy instead of this. I've outgrown this place, whatever you need to tell yourself, right? Because that's going to empower you to do the next thing. And the next thing for you might look like, yeah, being in that company instead and meeting those people. Maybe that's kind of the avenue, or starting your business and really doubling down on yourself and what you have been preaching for years. And you're finally ready to write a book on it. Anyway, all of that can come up and you can start to make it happen. And when you sit with that, so whoever's doing this with Georgia, if you sit with that and you're recognizing, okay, well, that was a fork in the road. And now I know the direction I need to go. So I made my choice. I'm going full steam ahead toward starting my own business. And I'm just going to keep moving day by day, right? I just see what's in front of me. My headlights are only showing me, a meter or two down the road. And so I'm just going to go trust that and make it. But then, you're going to come across some holes in the road that you haven't patched over yet. And so you're going to find that you detour or you deal with the hole and then you drive, right? You keep going. How is this going to work for you? What are you going to do as you start to move toward in that direction of something that you're really convicted on of, and convinced of that you are going to have? Like, I will start this business. I will be successful. I'm telling myself this. Doesn't mean there won't be challenges in the way, that you're going to be at another divide, right? Another decision, which could either divide you or collect you. And you're at the fork in the road and you're going to make your decisions. And you're going to take with you only the things that serve you on this new journey. You don't need some of the stuff that kept you back at the fork in the road. You don't need it. And if this is a narrower path, then you might need to ditch some stuff and leave it behind. Like I did in Brazil, I was traveling with my backpack. I just had my laptop in my backpack. That's how I traveled through Brazil. And I would get rid of stuff. Like if I was over a shirt, after like a few weeks, I would just start ditching it and lighten literally my load. My backpack would lighten because I would just be like, hey, leave something at the hostel or give a gift to my host, right? If I was couch surfing or if I was renting a room, my landlord, and I would, just leave something. And I didn't have a lot. It was clothes, really. It was really just clothes. So I would just leave like a scarf or a shirt. I know I left like this cute shirt that I look back at pictures and it was such a cute shirt, but it was like, I was over it. And I don't look back and think, oh, I wish I had that shirt still. I don't. It was good for the time. It like lived its life. It's part of my memories. It's the moment. It was the moment then, right? And I'm happy to have let it go. And it's just, I can thank it. Like Marie Kondo says, thank it for like being part of my life back then. I love that shirt. Oh, I looked good in it. That was part of so many fun memories. And I'm okay. I condoed that. So anyway, I like that idea of just kind of thanking it. Okay, so let's wrap this up. If you have any further additional questions on this topic, please write into clarityhotline.com, or if you comment the question, I will do my best to kind of like pull those questions and put it into the queue of the Clarity Hotline. I do my best. I think it's better though to get onto the clarityhotline.com and ask it officially. But just know if I can answer it pretty quickly, or I don't need a lot of context around my answer so that you're fully digesting what I'm putting down, then I can answer it in a reply comment. So, or I'll just point you to maybe something that you can read on my blog about it that might be helpful too. So anyway, we're going to do our best. But if you want to continue this conversation, please do in the comments or at clarityhotline.com for a follow-up question. Georgia, I hope that answered your question. Thanks for submitting it. Anyway, I'm out. This is a wrap for the Clarity Hotline today. I'll see you next week, Thursday, 12 noon Pacific time. And if you're interested about anything I'm saying about and you want to do a deep dive into your own journey, I would recommend a Clarity Intensive with me. And so I'll put that link down there for a Clarity Intensive. Because if you're feeling like you're at a fork in the road and you do have some limiting beliefs, and what's keeping you there at the fork in the road, at this divide of yourself, right? You're split in two, not trying to collect yourself. Okay, we're going to go with that. Trying to collect yourself and not feel so divided, not feel so against yourself, not feel so sabotaged by yourself, right? To love on yourself again, to come into an awareness and a trust like never before, and so that you can collect yourself and ascend toward the direction that you choose, right? Your next level self, your ultimate life dreamiest vision that I don't know, just that wild imagination. Anything that you can conjure up in the mind can actually exist for you. You can build a tree house in Africa and go live there amongst the animals. I promise you can. I promise you can. You can also go build a house on Mars, because as part of the collective consciousness, if you're so interested in living on Mars, you will find the people that will help you figure out a way to do that. And you will get close. You might land on the moon with a house on the moon. But right? Is that not an advancement, right? Was that not worth getting to in this lifetime? If what you have next for yourself is taking it from there, right? This is the leg up you're going to give the next version of you, wherever you land after this body dies. Wherever you go, you're going to be starting from the baseline that you set here in this life, that level of ascension, right? Can you imagine? Wouldn't you like to ascend as high as you can into that high vibe place where you're not really doubting yourself ever? You're really not ever feeling guilt, mom guilt, shame around some of the decisions you make as a parent, and instead switch it so that it's not happening in the way that you're prophesying it to happen in your self-fulfilling beliefs. Is that what it is? Now I'm all split up in my head, but I did want to use that word. Self-fulfilling beliefs. Self-fulfilling beliefs. I just said it at the start of this call. Self-prophecy. Self-fulfilling belief. Is that what it is? Why am I blanking on this? Because I don't use it. It's not language I use. I actually am just trying to come at it from different angles so that you hear maybe your language. So I want you to hear what you might be saying to yourself, and in whatever way you're saying it, the words, the actual words, right? The vernacular, the syntax of how you're saying, how you're keeping yourself back. I just want you to recognize how it sounds to you, so that you're not dismissing it as like, oh, that's not my problem. Because wrapped in this somehow, some way, could be something that you can ascend from and finally choose yourself and go the direction of that, right? Choose yourself, to come into yourself, to enlighten yourself to all of your nuances of your personality and how you're showing up on this planet, and still loving yourself, right? And still thinking that it's perfect. And it's perfect for where you're going, right? It's perfect for where you need to be as you ascend toward the next level, the next version, the next rung up the ladder, since that's really what you're doing here. Okay, so anyway, I think we can wrap. Big breath in, out. All right. Hopefully you got some clarity and you're taking it with you. I'll see you next week. Peace. Okay. All right, YouTube. Um, Thanks for watching. We're wrapping up right now, a little bit past the hour, just finished on Instagram. I like to just do a little behind the scenes, take you backstage with me if you're tuning in on YouTube, for no other reason than this is the platform that I'm focused on right now. I have found a love affair with YouTube, and I want to give it my energy and give it my focused attention and all that stuff. So I just recognized something on Instagram that is a nice little improvement that they've made, because something that they did to the app was really, really. Do I want to say? See, I'm choice. I'm careful with my words because it's important. I'm careful of my words around my kids. I'm careful of the self talk that I am helping them build in themselves. I'm very, very vigilant, because I think it makes all the difference. Anyway, so where was it? So I'm careful about the words I use, and I was going to say it was a pretty dumb thing that Instagram did, and it looks like they corrected the mistake. And there's no such thing as mistakes, right? Like, mistakes are good. We want to make them. We want to take the risks. We don't want to hold ourselves back being somebody who is never bold, who's never taking the risk, who's never seeing what they're up to, what they can handle, how they rise up, right? Who never goes that extra mile just to, like, oh, okay, I've got a little bit energy left. Let me see what else I can do. There is a difference between hustle and that. Can you imagine? Like, that sounds like hustle, but it's not. It's not hustle. Going the extra mile is stretching your mind and your capacity for what's possible, right? And that's imagination. Can you get tired imagining? I think you get stuck. I think you can get blocked. Think you can start to feel resentment for yourself rise up, that self hatred that we talked about, like that self loathing that everybody says. Um, be careful of the words you use, right? Because that does feel very depressing, okay, of your energy and your spirit and your soul and your body, right? Starts to, if you're depressed, you're going to look it. And everything's going to kind of take that shape of depression. But um, if you express it, if you imagine and you continue to imagine and then you express it instead of repress it, like you go that little, like, I'm just going to do this today. That's not hustle. So see how that's kind of a micro movement, but it's a very intentional, deliberate, um, I believe, aligned move forward, aligned step in the right direction toward your vision. So this is how you start to do less, because you get really clear and specific on what it is that you want, how you want it to see, and that's imagination. So that's born and bred in the imagination. I'm thinking of what I want and imagining it, imagining myself in it, having it, doing it, being it, living it. I imagine, I see it all. I see and taste and touch and hear and smell, and I see my kids, and they're bigger now, and I see them still this age. So, you want to close the gap there, but I see us doing it now. So don't cast such a vision where it's like, oh, that's in at least 10 years, because look how much older we are. Like, try to this is part of the work, bring your imagination into something. This is part of manifestation too. Like, you can start to close gaps or collapse time, by imagining yourself here and now doing these things. So have it be part of your everyday, like in the moment of challenge and despair, you are changing the story. You're rewriting the belief, the thought. And so you're saying, instead of like, oh, this is so hard, you're saying, oh, I this I got this. I get to do this. Or I can see how this is helping me right now. I'm actually taking a lot of joy. I'm proud of myself. So yeah, I'm taking a lot of pride in doing this. And it's lifting my spirit. It's um just fueling my fire, right? It's part of my mojo, what gets me going. So then I know, right, that I don't have to do too much of that if that's what's happening, right? If that 20% effort is making 80% of the waves, right? That's a big deal, right? Rather than hustling all 80% of the time to maybe get 20% because you were doing too much hustling. You were doing too much expending of your masculine energy, hoping for results, which is just AKA praise from the outside world, other than loving yourself, trusting yourself first and foremost, and letting that be what validates you as you move towards your goals and your vision. The more like this external fascination is happening as you're moving, you're increasing the gap because you lost the point. When you recognize that every day, every opportunity, and every challenge, every frustration, I can manifest a different reality just by thinking a different way. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Okay. Peace. See you next week. ClarityHotline.com.